Hello, light travelers. Happy Friday. Welcome to the workshop. Don't know if this is Friday for you, but this is when it's being recorded. Workshop is where we're going to do a lot of our gear reviews to start off with on the channel, because this is where most of the gear is stored, and also it has the best lighting here day and night, minus that light right there that's blinding you. Sorry about that. Once I stop talking, it'll go away. Anyway, I digress. Piece of camping gear we're going to be reviewing today is my newest piece, but it's also one of my favorites. I just recently got back from a trip out to the American Southwest, hitting various different points in the desert, and while I was gone, it just so happens the Southwest got the warmest warm front it's gotten in October in about 30 years. So, was able to get some great data on this piece of camping gear, but first, before we talk about it more, we're going to have to get it down because it's up there, so let's go ahead and do that. As you might have gathered from the intro or also the title of this video, the piece of camping gear we're going to be reviewing is a cooler. It's this cooler right here, this Igloo cooler. I have various other coolers that I've used on my adventure. If you would like to see some more reviews on any of those coolers I got up there and hear how they fared on my trips, drop a like, maybe comment below, and we'll see what we can do. Here she is in all her glory. Let's go over some specifications. Alright, now that I've completed the rickety light obstacle course, we're going to talk about this cooler right here in front of us. We're going to talk about what it's called, where I bought it, how much it cost, and then maybe some details, what I like about it, what I don't. And then we'll get into how the cooler performed. I didn't film on my trip about the cooler specifically, so you just have to take my word for it, and this is a best assessment based on my memory and the stats and data that I recorded. So, let's go ahead and get into what this cooler is called. This is an Igloo Overland cooler. It says it holds 50 quarts. I paid $89 for this at Walmart. I saw that you could buy it online as well, and there's also a smaller version of this cooler too. Online, I did see this at one site when I was researching purchasing this cooler. It said it was a Walmart exclusive. I could not confirm that, but I did find this cooler at Walmart. If you find it in any other stores, that's great. Couple of features with this cooler. It has these cool pull-down handles. I like that they look like anchors. That's not really related to how it performs, but I do like the handles because you're able to put more things in the cooler and it can pull the lid down over those things. We'll open the cooler now so we can see a couple of things in here. I really like how it has this lid that kind of has the hood on it, how it's kind of indented. It allows you to stack more things in the center of the cooler that you aren't able to because the lid tapers down into the actual cooler. It says it can hold 80 cans online and also on the little sheet that came with the cooler. Did not confirm this, but if you're thinking about having a party weekend and you are able to fit 80 cans in there, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know. See how many you can fit in there. But that's a couple things about this cooler that I really like. I also like the handles, how they have this grip on them. One thing I don't like about them is they fold like this. Yeah, I think it would be really cool if you could push down on them and they had kind of those push down, pull up handles that don't fold like this. Kind of makes it difficult to get it in and out of my car, but that's just personal preference for me. Also, it has a lock on there, or a place where you can put a lock on there, so that way if somebody steals your cooler where you're at the beach, if they don't have a pair of bolt cutters, they can't get all your Coors Light. So, that's another cool thing about this cooler. Also, it has a drain plug on there that works really, really well. Angled there at the bottom of the cooler. I was able to get most of the water out when I replaced the ice in there. It worked fantastic. Now that we've talked about what I like about this cooler, what I don't like, where I bought it, how much it cost, all that jazz, let's get into how it performed and how I pack it to get the best performance out of my coolers. Alright, we're back here with the cooler and some things I use to pack it with. This is just going to set this constant variable of how I pack my coolers. Did this way the entire trip. This is how I've always packed my coolers to get the best results. Learned it from my dad. First thing I do, I use a bag of ice and I chill it the night before. I started doing this recently, thought people that did it were crazy. Tried it, got the best results. And then after I do that, if there's still some good ice in there, I'll use it, but I'll drain most of it out. Then I'll take my frozen water bottles right here and I'll put one in each corner of the cooler. I'll probably put a picture up there so you can see how I do it and how it looks when it's completed. But now that I have my water bottles in there, I'm going to take my bag of ice and I'll put a layer of ice in the cooler. I'm not going to actually do it. This is a good bag of ice and I don't want to waste it. On average, during a day at my town or at a campground when I'm camping out there in the woods, I'll probably open this cooler about 10 different times during the day. Days when I drive, I might open it only twice. To get a basis for my entire trip, we're just going to say that I open my cooler 5 times a day on average. There are some days where I opened it more, some days where I opened it less. One thing I forgot to mention about packing my coolers is how much ice I put in there. So the way I pack them, I'm able to put about 15 pounds of ice in there. This is a 7-pound bag just for reference. So I'm able to fit 2 of those and change in there the way I pack my cooler and all the goodies that are in there at all times. Now, we talked about everything else about the cooler. We'll go ahead and get into the main event, how this cooler fared on the trip. Average ambient temperature at face was about 66 degrees. This cooler advertises that it keeps ice for 6 days. If you know anything about advertising for coolers and that type of thing, you know exactly what that's a load of. I don't have to tell you. If you don't, perfectly okay. If you don't know a whole lot about coolers, usually they're never as good as they advertise. You'll be lucky if they get close. Usually they work about half as well as they say they're going to. Like I said, advertises that it keeps ice for 6 days. I was able to go 3 days without having to put ice in this cooler, which is pretty darn good. I've never had a cooler that I've been able to go that long without putting ice in. Another metric that you can use is the one of my frozen water bottles. After 3 scorching days at Joshua Tree that were all 100 degrees or more, my water bottles still were about half full of ice. Of course, I was putting ice in the cooler throughout the trip, but that's still pretty darn good. Well, that just about wraps up our first gear review and first full-length video here at Travel Light Adventures. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe, maybe even drop a comment down there. That'd be appreciated. If you have any questions about this video, anything you feel like I forgot or anything I can do better on, also put in those comments. I'll be happy to read them and get back to you. Well, that's about it. Thanks for coming and hanging out in the workshop for a while. Stop by anytime. Till next time, rest easy and travel light. Cheers, everybody.